Hi, all. Now let's solve the question. Describe how geographic isolation can lead to the formation of new species from a single interbreeding population. Okay, let's see how to answer. So, the geographic isolation occurs when a group of organisms from the same species become separated by a physical barrier. Okay, it can be mountains, rivers, oceans, or deserts. So, what happens then over time? This separation can lead to the formation of new species through the process of speciation. Okay, so through the process of speciation, the new species are formed. Okay, so let's see what are the processes. So first thing, single interbreeding population. So what is single interbreeding population? Initially, all members of the species live together and interbreed freely, sharing the same gene pool. So initially, they were free to breed with any of the available members in the area, right? But later on, the geographic barriers are formed. So a physical barrier separate the population into two groups. This prevents individuals from mating with each other, right? So, what are the geographical barriers? So, we have a lot of geographical barriers, right? For example, we can take the case of mountain ranges, rivers, earthquakes or volcanic activity, and sea formation. And now let's see how it's going to affect or how these conditions change. So first we will consider about the different environmental conditions. So each isolated group experiences different climate, food sources, predators, and habitats. So you know that you might have noticed that even in human beings, those people from the Arctic region or northern regions, is their physique and abilities, tolerance to different temperature is entirely different from that of the Mediterranean people, right? So, likewise, when the species are getting separated by any sort of physical barriers and they are exposed to different environmental conditions, some sort of changes will gradually visible in them. Okay, then variation and a natural selection. And mutation create genetic variation within each group. So natural selection favors characteristics that help organic organisms survive in their specific environment. So, for example, you can take the case of any bird that used it to eat any sort of worms from the surface. Now they don't have any land left there. They can only consume fish from the sea or rivers, etc. So there will be some changes on their body type, maybe the beak, etc. So likewise, a lot of mutations will occur, and many of the species which is not able to adapt will be eliminated or get extinct. Okay, that is what we meant by natural selection. Then the genetic differences gradually increases. Okay, so how does the genetic differences increases? Over many generation, the isolated population become more genetically different. How? Due to the adaptation and the lack of gene flow. So now the community is isolated. So there is no way that they will be able to breed with anyone else outside the particular geographical area, right? It's completely isolated. So the availability of gene flow is very low. Like they don't even have any new introduction there, right? And due to this natural selection, majority of the population might have extincted. So due to this adaptation and other things, their community will have to face a lot of issues. So gradually it will develop into a genetic differences. Okay, so they will be uh, showing some changes from their older versions, the older initial animals to the current generation. Okay. Then reproductive isolation develop. And eventually, what will happen? The two groups that can no longer inbreed successfully, even if the barrier is removed. So they have become separate species. So just imagine that a species got separated due to any physical barriers around 50 years back, 100 years back, etc. So later, with the changes occurred them during these years, they might have developed a lot of mutations. They might be a victim of natural selection. And finally, what happens is that they have changed in most of their physical or genetical combination. So even though after 100 years they were able to breed with their original form, like the initial growth, they won't be able to breed. Okay, because they have become an entire new species. Okay, they have become a new species entirely. Okay, so there is no relation, so it won't be possible. So, what we meant is that geographic isolation can lead to the formation of new species by separating a single interbreeding population into isolated groups. So, different environmental pressures and natural selection cause genetic change over time. And eventually, what happens? It results in reproductive isolation and the development of new species. Okay, so that is how you have to attend this question.